You're listening to the Dino Bidala Show, Sirius XM's Progress.
And welcome back, Dino Bidala Show. We're live right here in studio. The warrior princess of the resistance, Daniel Moody Mills, host of Woke AF, Sirius XM Progress, Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And just off the set of Hardball, ran over. She's on Reverend Al. You did a great job. I was reading the closed caption, so I couldn't get your passion, but I was getting... I knew the passion was there. I was just telling you in the break what I came in and was surprised by. That we started off with Claudette, who's an African-American woman from Virginia. Several other African-Americans from differing states have called up as well. One white guy from Virginia who's centrist, who made a compelling argument in his own way that Ralph Northam should stay. But I don't care what white people think if he should stay or not. I frankly don't. It's the community that's wrong should take the lead. But I was surprised to have 3 African-Americans call me tonight, and that's representative of more people who are saying he should stay, and that he's clearly changed because we don't have people coming forward and saying he's been racist ever since, he's terrible, and this was bad 35 years ago, but it's not the same person today. Danielle, react, please.
I mean, I'm actually really taken aback. Especially by your African-American callers who are saying that he should stay in office because we should protect our own. He ain't my own, okay? Right. So let me first say that. Northam, as I have begun to understand and have researched now since this whole thing has come up, didn't even want to campaign with his lieutenant governor, Justin Fairfax, because he was black, and thought that maybe by campaigning together that would pull away votes from white Southerners who would otherwise be like, Northam is one of us. The idea, blackface to me is one of the most abhorrent acts that you can do. Friend and director Justin Simien wrote and directed the movie Dear White People, right? The whole premise of the movie is about a blackface party that starts off as like a joke, right? Because one of the radio hosts whose show was Dear White People in the film wanted to see just how racist her fellow classmates were. Puts out this invitation. All of these kids show up. We know that it's not just a movie because every year at the end of the movie, they showed all of the real headlines from blackface parties that take place at some of the most reputable, higher education institutions in the country. It is a way to mock, dehumanize, humiliate, and degrade black people. I don't give a damn if that was 35, 45 years ago, if it was yesterday. If at any time in your life as a person that is not black saw fit to get black shoe polish, which I don't know any black person that black shoe polish is part of our complexion. So let's just start there. Okay. But that's how you view us, right? To get black shoe polish and then to put that on your face because, you're dressing up in costume. I said this on Twitter during his sad and pathetic excuse for a press conference that I grew up in a majority white suburb on Long Island. And, it's oftentimes that black and brown people for Halloween, right? The only options have always been, and when I was young in the 1980s, was to dress up as traditionally quote unquote white characters. Cinderella, Snow White, He-Man. Never one time did I ever notice any black or brown people go into the nursing store to get white nursing shoe polish in order to complete their friggin' outfit. So why do white people see fit that this needs to be part of their makeup when year after year after year after year, we have to tell you, we are not a costume. Blackface is unacceptable. So I don't care if he's a Democrat or a Republican. I care that this should have never happened in the first place. And his admission of guilt initially just goes to show that he had to call up people. Dean, do you have to call up people to figure out whether or not you did something ridiculously racist or horrible?
That's such a horrible photo. I mean, and he said Friday night, and I'll read, I am deeply sorry for the decision I made to appear as I did in this photo. We know the photo he was talking about. It would be like me, I'm trying the worst thing.
I can't even think about something that could
horribly
be equally
anti-Semitic or something that I was, because I'm Muslim, and I'm like, I would know instantly it's not me. I'm like, that's not me. What are you out of your? His statement should have been,
Are you out of your mind? I could never.
I would never, ever do that. And the longer we waited for a response, because the story broke around 4 and we had no response, we're going on air. I'm like, the longer he waits, something's going on here.
Right.
Now, with Justin Fairfax, there was a thing in the campaign where he left them off a flyer, and it became an issue. There's also another side, though, to this, to make it slightly more complex. His press secretary during the campaign, who I dealt with countless times, Ophelia Yeskel, is African-American. And he was his face talking to the press during the whole campaign, not as governor. She is the comms director for him now. So it's more, you add different things, it just becomes more complex on a certain level. I don't know. I cannot speak to if he's a racist or not. I'm not here to say that at all. That picture is hideous and horrific. It is, Dean? Because and the lying to me is the hard. Like, if you're going to lie about it, because the lie, if he had stuck to it was me, came Saturday, goes, it was me, but I'm different. And I have all these people in my community who are going to say, and they made that case, it's different for evolution. The lying disqualified him to me. That just, you can't go. As a lawyer, I would tell you, when you lie that quickly, it's because you're covering up the truth. We all know it.
Right. And so he decided that his admission around Michael Jackson was going to be like, oh, because guess what? I believe that there's a picture out there as well of him as Michael Jackson. So he's just like, oh, shit, I can't have 2 blackface photos out there. You know, let it be the one and people will understand. It's this white apologist stance that I have grown tired of and cannot stand. If you are putting black shoe polish on your face, you are a racist. Plain and simple. Like, that is the most despicable aspect of American history, is that blackface time when it was all over television, all over posters, all over Hollywood, right? Was that projection of what white people thought that black people were. So the idea that you would be comfortable in 1984 when Jesse Jackson is running for president, when Nell Carter is on national television, when The Cosby Show is on, when black culture started to become actually mainstreamed by black people, you're 25 years old and a doctor, and you think that that's acceptable. One of the things that Chris asked me just before on Hardball was, you know, he's like, these are doctors. These are future doctors. And I said, and we want to know why the mortality rate for black women during childbirth is so high. We want to know, like, why Serena Williams had to then write an op-ed about almost dying because she's telling her doctor what she needs, but they think that she has a higher threshold for pain because she's black. Right? Wow. There is so much racism in the medical industry, and we wonder to ourselves, how could this be? Look at what they decided to publish in that yearbook. That is indicative of a larger systemic problem that we have.
Like, when you look at that picture from 1984, the blackface standing next to a guy in what looked like almost a real Klan outfit. That wasn't like a joke of a Klan outfit. No. Like a guy with a sheet. That was a guy with a hood and the whole thing sitting there.
And it looked like it fit. Looked like it was couture.
Right.
Looked like that
so
was
not
couture.
Trying to make light of it, but the point was, it was not someone threw some stupid hood and it's a fake thing. Like, they look committed to this and extremely comfortable in this scenario. And then Ralph Northam goes to the military right after that.
Right.
And where, with that mindset, I'm not going to speak for what happened in the military. I'm not going to go there. Let's just stay what we know with. So you have this, we talked about in the bigger picture, and I talked about this case everyone's talking about, Robert Byrd, who had been in the Klan, who evolved. He evolved so much that when he died in 2010, Ben Jealous, then the head of the NAACP, put out a statement praising him, and so did John Lewis. But that was an evolution where he wasn't caught in the Klan. Everyone knew he'd been in the Klan. Right. And he evolved not just in words, which he did use, but in actions over years and years and years, supporting the NAACP agenda to the point where he's getting high ratings from them year after year. So, I mean, how could have Northam done the right evolution years ago, come out and said this, look, I did this thing and it's horrible, and now I'm running for office. I want you to know way before this.
This is what I was saying. You know, I've been talking to my friends about this since the story broke and having, like, you know, deep conversations about this. What could he have done? Would there have been a way around this? And I said, yes, I do believe, because as a person whose work is in PR and communications, I'm like, there was a way out of this, right? The way out of this would have been during his campaign.
This one for governor, not the first one.
No, during his campaign for governor, to bring the picture up himself, to open up his yearbook, to say, you know what? I know that this could possibly come out, and I want to bring it out because I want to have a conversation about race in America, about the changing demographics of this country, about what was acceptable and what was not. He could have, at that time, if it wasn't him, which we now know that it was, say that this was not me, this was unacceptable then, and it's unacceptable now, but he would have brought this story out and used it as a teachable moment, used it as an opportunity to have conversation. Not because, here's the thing, blackface shouldn't just be offensive to black people. It should be offensive to everybody. Right? It should be offensive to, we're in a time when Mayor Landrieu was taking down Confederate statues and being called everything but a child of God in Louisiana, where Confederate statues are coming down, where you had people climbing up on, flagpoles to rip down the Confederate flag, to change street names, right? In what other world do we lift up the losers of war, except for in the United States, where we dedicate monuments to racism and white supremacy? So he had an opportunity, especially in Virginia. Charlottesville had happened. All of these things had happened, to be the one to bring up this conversation. That's how he could have spun his way out of this. Because the way to avoid crisis is to meet crisis head on before it happens, right? So that you're doing it on your own terms.
I wonder if during the governor, I almost think if he was going to talk about it openly, it should have been for his first race for state senate years ago. I think it was 2007 or 2009 he ran for state senate then, and that would have been different, because then he would have said, look, I'm coming forward in that exact point. I'm going to make this conversation. So if you're a communications expert, if someone has something in their closet they're worried about, if you come out and say it's a different thing,
right,
as opposed to being caught, you get caught. It's hard to believe you.
Yeah, because you get to set the tone, right? You get to set the tone and set the conversation instead of being on the defensive, right? But he screwed this up. His team screwed this up. I mean, the admission and the video that said, "I don't condone this. This is not who I am anymore." Right? He knows that he is one of the people in those pictures. I'm going to use facial recognition, but you can't use facial recognition for the one in the Klan hood, right? So how is that going to work? So you knew you did blackface, but this one wasn't you. But he put himself in a bad situation.
Watching his press conference, he was believable on the Klan response. I never wore a Klan outfit, and that was believable because the way he said it. But he was admitting to the blackface. So right there, you're like, okay, look, again, I hate to be a lawyer on this, but if you're cross-examining someone and they're accused of something and they go, well, I didn't do it that time, but I did do it another time, I'm like, you've just convicted yourself. And we know. Let's take a quick break. Come back with more of our friend Danielle Moody Mills right after this.
Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127. The Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.
And welcome back, Dean Obadala Show. In studio, our friend Danielle Moody Mills, host of Woke AF, every Sunday. So we have a couple of minutes left. Let me ask you this. We have 2 minutes, literally, they just told me in my ear. You know, Donald Trump came out quickly denouncing Ralph Northam, which is fine. But when asked about Stephen King, a man who literally defended white supremacy and was actually stripped of his committee assignments by Republicans, Trump's exact words were that I wasn't following it. I didn't know what's going on there a couple weeks ago.
He wasn't the man that spent 60% of his executive time tweeting and watching television. He didn't hear about it.
Is it unreal? I mean, but should any of this conversation be that how can we call out the other side if we're not going to throw out people who are bad on our side? Because I don't like that argument. I want it to be like, this is wrong. I don't care about the other side. That's not the standard.
I just wish that racism was not a partisan issue, right? But I'm living in a fairy tale. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. You see blackface, you hear the N-word, you hear anti-Semitism, you hear anti-Muslim sentiments. Like, any act of hatred should be called out, and it shouldn't be, Democrats or Republicans. So he just needed a distraction from what Trump. He knows is coming. Yeah, Trump just needed a distraction. Yeah, God, get him, Northam. Idiot.
Well, Danielle, I want to thank you. I know we almost had Danielle for the whole hour, but then Chris Matthews stole her, and then she's running up to someone else. But thank Danielle very much. I really appreciate your time always, and listen to her show every Sunday on this very channel. Nice chatting with you. Folks, we'll be back. Elie Mystal is going to join us in studio for the next hour. We'll try to take some calls. We're going to start with this very issue, as you might imagine. You may have saw him on Joy Reid Show. He did a great job talking about this very issue over the weekend. We'll be right back after this.